the Judgment Day are out, and this was the recipient of the countdown clock because they were teasing a new member for the Judgment Day would be announced at 10 o'clock. And the three are in the ring, and Damian Priest, WWE Universe, you know what time it is. I thought he was going to go into like Limp Bizkit lyrics or something.
They have a song addressing the WWE Universe?
Well, you know what time it is. He was rolling on to his WWE lingo and says that their message is spreading like wildfire. Their destiny has no limitations. And Rhea and Priest were inundated with the what chants. Priest says that Rhea's destiny is to become women's champion again and one step closer to omnipotence when she wins the fatal four-way tonight and beats Bianca Belair at Money in the Bank. So it's going to be omnipotence in the bank.
Yeah. I hope that this was the last type of this promo that we've heard from this group. This verbiage is a fucking killer. Who can make this work?
Not
MJF.
Edge. What does that tell you? One of their best promos could not make this work. This to me, honestly, has been the lowest point of Edge's entire WWE career. This angle.
Sure. Yes. And mercifully, it might be coming to an end. But think about, in the hands of Edge, it's pretty awful. What's it going to sound like in the hands of a Damian Priest, okay, who really is not the best promo in the world. Rhea Ripley, who I think is a fine promo, but when you just you turn her, the problem is like there's somewhere halfway between like generic heels who don't like the audience because they don't want to please the audience anymore, and some sort of weird like religious cult for no reason. Like there's very little that's religious about what it is that they actually want to do, except for just the aesthetic of it. And yet they just seem to want to shove everything in, and it's just a fucking mess. Like they both sound so completely, painfully generic, yet completely inauthentic. So,
I don't look at like any of these members as like weak links. Like the group,
they're fine.
It's
yeah.
the gimmick that I think has just. Yeah. It just has not worked, whatever you want to say about it. And maybe you look at it like sometimes you get handed terrible stuff, but you overcome it. But that's like we've had this for 2 months. This is not taken off. Edge takes the mic and says, now the adult in the room speaks. And he's been doing this for 30 years, so shut your mouths. And he says how proud he is of Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, putting them over. They listened, and someone else was listening and heard their message. So everyone stands up. Who is the new member? And out walks Finn Balor. And the announcers are like, is this just a ruse to attack the Judgment Day? It's like they're calling out the tropes that people are assuming. And he just gets into the ring and shakes hands with Edge. And Edge says, I saw something change in you last night. And then you reached out to Priest and Ripley. And I've always said that you're one of the best out there. Balor explains, I had a moment of clarity last night, a calling that I refused to ignore and pretending to be someone I'm not. And I wasn't upset when Rhea stood in front of you and prevented me from hitting the coup de grace. I was impressed. So I reached out after the show. I wonder if it was a text or like what form of communication.
I don't know. Maybe there's a special service for people with alter egos that he reached out to.
Are you on WhatsApp, Rhea? And he reached out and was tired of being told what to do, which is kind of funny how this guy who was like out on his own is joining a group where in theory you would be much more like in line with like a group rules than before. But nonetheless,
yeah. It's a group where nobody gets to tell them what to do except for, I don't know, each other.
So Priest then says that they are now ready to shed the last bit of limitations that are holding them back, which is you. And they all attack short-haired Edge. And they deliver the South of Heaven on him, the coup de grace, and then the dude with the bad neck and everything takes a razor's edge for Damian Priest onto the desk. Mm-hmm. This guy went all out here to get this attack across. And then they weren't done. they did the Edge spot, ripping off the metal from the chair, and Balor delivering a crossface with the bar inside of his mouth. And then Damian Priest hits him with a concerto, like they were out to kill this guy. He took everything here. To the point that I almost thought it was too much. Like, did this guy have to go through a desk with the razor's edge when we were going to do a concerto on top of it? It was like you forgot about that spot by the end of this. They just destroyed him. And Graves asks, why? Given that they were so dominant last night. I was like, that's a great question, because Edge pinned this guy last night, and you're now opting to go with the loser as your new leader in Finn Balor. But I will say that this did feel probably very abrupt. Maybe they knew they were going this way 24 hours ago, but this does feel like a switch based off of, like, we're losing Cody, and we need... Edge is not needed here as this heel, so we need him as a babyface. That's what it felt like.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I would assume that this was probably not always the plan, maybe a month out. To maybe eventually it was eventually going to be.
I don't think a week out, Wade. Like, they were just like getting this stuff going. Like, I don't think that this was. This felt like a very sudden change.
I fully expect that Balor at some point was going to turn heel, maybe even on AJ and Liv Morgan somehow. But this certainly felt pretty abrupt for him. I would though suggest that I would hope that they knew that this was going to be the direction before the match yesterday, which makes the booking of that match really completely perplexing.
Yeah, which is why I don't think this was probably known. Like that match did not lead you to what you were doing 24 hours later. There was no dissension. There was no tease of like Edge and Priest being like nothing.
I think that's also giving them a lot of credit, because I could very well see that somehow. Hey, we don't want this group to lose, so let's have them win here, and we'll switch out the leaders tomorrow. All that said, I like the segment, and I like the idea of swapping these leaders here for Balor over Edge. Number one, I mean, it sets Edge now up for an eventual comeback as a babyface, where he's way more interesting and way more successful and way more valuable to this company. And I think for Finn Balor, listen, you're not going to get further down the card than you are if you're Finn Balor. You're losing everything.
This is a lifeline for him, certainly.
And he looks great with the faction behind him. I certainly hope that this is them aborting the whole gimmick, because this will not help anybody if Finn Balor starts talking like Edge and has to join this stupid culty, like Halloween costume stable. Let them talk like real people, and let Rhea speak like a real person. Let Damian Priest speak like a real person, and let Finn Balor speak like a real person, because I think he's great at it. He's shown in NXT how great of a heel he could be. I hope this is their chance to bring that sort of character up there and make Rhea and Priest this is their chance to fix a mistake before that group became too ingrained. So I hope they take full advantage of it.
Yeah, the Omnipotence Club can maybe be retired, and we'll find something else. I don't mind like the three of them together for all the reasons you stated. Like the gimmick was not working. Edge is better suited as a babyface. And I think he could have been a fine heel, but not in this iteration. I think this was just a swing and a miss, this run of the Judgment Day. But there you go. The big angle on the show.